During the American Revolution, or any revolution in general in history, you've gotta be careful which side you choose. As history shows, one side can have people who sided with one side as enemies, while the other is labeled as heroes. That seems to be what also happened to the Loyalists. People who remained loyal to the British Empire during the Revolution, hence the name Loyalist. Although they did go by other names, with those all being to mock them, including the name that I've said, and it's the title topic of this card. The Patriots are good, but some of the methods used to get to the point across for freedom are bad. So were some of the loyalist methods in the support of Britain at the time can also be considered also bad. We can see but it's not going to change much for us today about how we view loyalist and patriot. So without making this introduction too long, let's just get into what the history card in the Story of America cards, the Revolutionary card, has to share about the Loyalist. The Loyalists were colonists in America during its time as the 13th colonies, who had remained loyal to Great Britain during the American Revolutionary War. Also called Tories, Royalists, or Kingsmen, they opposed the Patriots who supported the Revolution, calling them persons inimical to the liberties of America. Some Loyalists would fight for the British crown and join armies to fight against Patriots. Others neutral to the conflict would flee to England, Florida, or British North America, which is now Canada. After the Loyalists were defeated, a lot more would flee to escape any further mistreatment and hostility for their support of Great Britain and wanting to remain as British citizens. One popular myth about the American Revolution is that the revolt against tyranny of England, supported by almost all of the colonists with the possible exception of such obvious traitors as Benedict Arnold. In actual fact, according to most of the stories, when the revolution began, at least 1/3 of American people remained loyal to the British crown or stayed neutral in the dispute. Those who supported England were called Loyalists or Tories, and were identified as supporters of the Tory party in England by the American Patriots. Some of the Loyalists left the country when the war against England began. Most remained in America, however, and took an oath of allegiance to the Republic, an act required by the Patriots on penalty of imprisonment and confiscation of property, but secretly supported the British. Others took an active role in fighting on the British side. For example, Butler's Rangers, a regiment of Loyalists led by John Butler, fought against the Continental Army throughout New York and Pennsylvania. In all, some 60,000 Loyalists fought on the British side during the Revolution. The ranks on the Loyalists include many men from prominent American families. William Franklin, the last royal governor of New Jersey and son of Benjamin Franklin, was a Tory. Others included the mother and half-brother of Gouverneur Morris, a member of the Continental Congress, Count Ranford, a New Hampshire scientist, Thomas Hutchinson, governor of Massachusetts, and Joseph Galloway, a Pennsylvania pamphleteer. Many of these Loyalists were large landowners, while others had much to gain by maintaining their links to England. These included lawyers, merchants, and Indian traders. Still, others were poorer folk who simply followed their leaders into opposition, as was the case with Carolina Highlanders in New York tenant farmers. In 1777, the Continental Congress confiscated all Loyalist property, interring and fettering of British sympathizers became a familiar sight in many communities. As a result of such persecution during the war, about 80,000 Loyalists left the U.S. permanently, with half moving north to Canada and the west to England, where they were often forced to be dependent on the Crown in order to survive. Well, the Peace of Paris Agreement in 1783 allowed the Loyalists to return to America and obtain indemnities for their property. Few did. They feared for their lives, and for good reason. Now you can see there are a lot of people who were patriots and a lot of people who were loyalists. We know a lot of the reasons behind the motives of the Patriots' acts during the Revolution. They wanted to be free from British power, as the British Empire was taxing them to pay off their debts. The causes of the Tea Party and much more were what started the Revolution, and the Patriots are the people who stand against British as the cause of all that. But then you question, what were the reasons behind some of the Loyalist motives for supporting England, when at the time in history, Britain was starting to become an enemy of America with all the information I said above already, which caused the war. We always picture the Loyalists as being part of the bad guys when talking about the American Revolution. Well, during my research about Loyalists, I've been open to the reason behind them, and this history card was one of the things that opened me up to the true meaning that people who don't really look at history or even bother to look into it at all would even notice the Loyalist. So I am going to list down the reasons behind the Loyalists becoming apparent during my study here that the Loyalists, like the Patriots, are people. They just didn't want war, and here are 10 reasons for the Loyalists to support Great Britain. 1. They felt that rebellion against the Crown, the legitimate government, was morally wrong. They saw themselves as Americans but loyal to the British Empire and saw a rebellion against Great Britain as a betrayal to the Empire. At the time, the national identity of Americans was still in formation, and the very idea of two separate people, nationalists, with their own sovereign states, the Kingdom of Great Britain and the United States of America, was itself revolutionary. 2. They felt alienated when the Patriots, seen by them as separatists who rebelled against the Crown, reported to violence, such as burning down houses and tarring and fettering. 3. They wanted to take a middle-of-the-road position and were not pleased when forced by Patriots to declare their opposition. 4. They had business and family links to Britain. 5. They felt the independence from Britain would come eventually, but wanted it to come about organizationally. 6. They were wary that chaos, corruption, and mob rule would come about as a result of the revolution. 7. They felt themselves to be weak or threatened within American society and in need of an outside defender, such as the British Crown and Parliament. 8. Black Loyalists were promised freedom from slavery by the British. 9. They felt that being a part of the British Empire was critical in terms of commons and their business oppositions. 10. Some were pessimists, who did not display the same belief in the future that the Patriots did. Others recalled the dreadful exhibitions of many Jacobite rebels after the failure of the last Jacobite rebellion as recently as 1745, who often lost their lands when the Harovidian government won. And there you have it. That's just the history behind the Loyalists. I'd like to know if anything I said this or what I was saying in the card, which comes from Colonists Against the War said anything to you about what the Loyalists were really like. Maybe you got some insight about the reasons in the bonus entry. Anyhow, that's all I'm gonna say. I hope you enjoyed learning this, and I'll see you in my other history card videos. Bye.